Hello and welcome to today's episode of Simple Business Dream Life with me, Emma Hine. Today I want to talk about something that I genuinely think keeps so many business owners stuck for way longer than it needs to. And the interesting thing is, most people don't even realize it's the problem. Because when the money isn't consistent, or the business feels harder than it should, or you're looking around thinking, I'm working so hard, why does this still feel like such an uphill struggle? Most people immediately assume they need to do more, need to be doing more marketing, need to be creating more content, need to find ways to be more visible, need to create new offers, more offers, try new strategies. And honestly, I get it because that's what we're constantly being fed. That growth comes from adding more, being on more platforms, creating more funnels, adding more products to our product portfolio, creating more ways to make money. But the longer I've been in business and the more business owners I've worked with, the more I've realized that usually the thing stopping people making consistent money isn't that they're not doing enough. It's that they're doing too much of the wrong things. And I really want you to hear that because this episode is not about making peace with less money or making peace with smaller goals or lowering your ambition. Not at all. I love growth. I love building profitable businesses. I love helping other people do exactly the same. But I think we've massively overcomplicated what actually creates sustainable growth. And I know this because I've lived both sides of it. I've built the business that looks successful from the outside, but behind the scenes was held together with string and sellotape. There were so many moving parts, so much complexity, so many things relying on me all of the time. And eventually I got to the point where I realised technically I could fix this. I could keep patching it all together, but I don't want to anymore because the business was consuming my life. And that was a really big wake up call for me because I started asking myself, how have I built something so successful that feels so unsustainable? And that question, that one question, became the beginning of everything I teach now. Because when I rebuilt completely differently. I became obsessed with understanding what actually creates consistent growth and what is just noise disguised as productivity. So much of what business owners are doing every day is noise. It feels productive, it looks productive, but it isn't actually driving growth. And that's exactly why I wanted to record this episode, because I know there are people listening right now who are amazing at what they do. You've got clients, you've got offers, you're not starting from scratch, but you know deep down that something just isn't clicking in the way that it should. Maybe the money is coming in waves, that famous feast and famine. Maybe growth feels harder than it needs to. Maybe you feel like you're constantly on just to keep things ticking over. And usually, when I look inside businesses like that, the issue isn't effort. The issue is clarity. It's that the business has become too fragmented, too complicated. There's too many offers, too many disconnected ideas, too many things competing for attention, too many strategies happening at once. And over time, all of that creates dilution. Your audience gets confused. Your messaging gets weaker. Your energy is getting spread way too thin, and therefore the business loses momentum because nothing is being done deeply enough to allow you to really scale. And this is why I created my simple scale framework, because I realized that sustainable growth actually comes from simplification first. And I think that can feel really uncomfortable for ambitious people because we're conditioned to believe simplification means scaling back. But simplification is far from scaling back. It's not shrinking. It's refining. It's removing everything that's getting in the way of the thing that actually works. So the first part of my framework is simplify. This is the step most business owners avoid because it forces you to get really honest. You have to start looking at your business and asking questions like, what is actually creating revenue here? And what am I holding on to because it makes me feel busy, valuable, or safe? Because those are two very different things. I remember looking at my own business and realizing there were entire parts of it that were consuming huge amounts of time and energy, but contributing very little financially. And yet, emotionally, I still didn't want to let go of them because somewhere along the way, I'd attached my value to being busy. And I think a lot of business owners do this without realizing. We start believing that if we're not constantly creating, posting, launching, building, and expanding, then somehow we're falling behind. But the businesses that tend to make the most consistent money are usually incredibly clear. You know exactly what they do. You know exactly who they help. You understand the value that they provide immediately. There's no confusion. And that leads into the second part of the framework, which is consolidate. This is really where I think the money piece starts becoming obvious. Because once you simplify the noise, you can finally see what your business should actually be built around. And for most people, that comes back to having one really strong core offer. Not 20 things you kind of sell, not random disconnected offers, not constantly launching new ideas every time sales dip. A real core offer. The thing you want to be known for, the thing that solves a really clear problem, the thing your messaging points towards consistently, the thing your audience immediately understands. I think this is where so many business owners are leaking money without even realizing it because they're trying to market and do too many things at once. One week they're talking about one offer, the next something else. Then they're creating a new low ticket thing. Then they're testing another idea. And what happens over time is the audience stops understanding what they actually go to you for. And confused people rarely buy quickly. This is why clarity matters so much commercially. If I landed on your Instagram account today or your website or listened to your content for a few minutes, would I immediately understand who you help, what problem you solve, and what transformation you create for your clients? Because the businesses making the most consistent money usually make that really obvious. And the other thing I see all the time is people building offers around what they want to teach rather than what their audience is actively trying to solve. And that distinction matters massively because your audience will pay faster to solve a problem they already feel emotionally connected to. So when you're looking at your core offer, I think there's a few really important questions you need to be asking yourself. First of all, what problem do people already come to me for repeatedly? This is not about every possible thing you can do or every little question you get asked. What is the thing people naturally associate with you already? Because usually your strongest offer already leaves clues. The second question is this a problem people actively want solved right now? Because there's a difference between somebody thinking something's nice and somebody actually searching for help for something specific. You want to be looking for the things that people are actually searching for help with right now. And then the third question, which I think is probably the most important, is transformation. People do not buy information anymore. They buy outcomes. So if your messaging is heavily focused on what's included instead of what changes for somebody after they've done the thing, that's probably weakening your sales too. Your audience doesn't really care that there are 6 modules, 3 calls, and a workbook. What they care about is who do I become after this? What becomes easier? What problems disappear? What results do I finally get? Those are the things that sell. And then there's another piece. I think this is one of the biggest reasons business owners stay stuck financially, even when they have good offers. And that's the thread. the customer journey. Because having a really core offer, a really good core offer, should I say, is one thing. But if nothing in your business connects together properly, you'll still end up relying on inconsistent sales. Everything in your business should lead people either towards your core offer or flow naturally from it. Your content should connect to it. Your free resources should connect to it. Your lower ticket offers should connect to it. There should be a natural progression where your audience understands where they are, what comes next, and how to move deeper into your world. But a lot of businesses don't have that. Everything exists separately. And then business owners wonder why they constantly feel like they're starting from zero every single month, trying to create sales again and again. When your business has a clear thread, sales become more consistent because people are being guided intentionally instead of being left to figure everything out for themselves. This is why I care so much about simplification, because simplifying allows you to strengthen what's already there instead of constantly building more. You don't need more noise. You need stronger foundations. You need a business where the messaging is clear, where the offer is clear, where the customer journey is clear. Because clarity is what creates momentum. Clarity is what creates trust. And clarity is what creates sales. If your business isn't making the money you want right now, before you ask yourself what else you need to add, ask yourself whether your business is actually clear enough to scale. Because often the answer is not more, it's less done better. And I want to leave you with something really tangible to sit with after this episode, because I think this question alone can expose so much noise inside a business. I want you to ask yourself, if I could only sell one offer for the next 12 months, what would it be and why? Not the offer that feels easiest to hide behind, not the offer you think you should sell, not the one that keeps you busiest, the one that creates the clearest transformation, solves the strongest problem, and has the biggest potential for you to become known for. Because that answer will tell you a lot. It will show you where the real value in your business already sits. It will show you what you actually trust. And it'll probably show you where your business has become diluted too. And then I want you to look at everything else in your business and ask, is this strengthening my core offer or is it just distracting from it? That question is where simplification starts. And simplification done properly is often the thing that finally unlocks consistent money. If you want help identifying your core offer and mapping out the thread around it, I've created a free workbook called Build Your Offer Thread, and that will help you. I'm going to pop the link in the show notes for you. But make sure you have a core offer and everything else within your business feeds into it or feeds out of it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.